Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 14, Episode 36, overall 751 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all electric vehicles, or EVs they call them, as well as Cadillac vehicles and their pickup trucks as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. Good evening, everybody. I took a couple days off this weekend, and I'm back here on Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. Before we start our show tonight, it is a special birthday tomorrow for my mom. My mother, Noreen, will be turning the big 81 tomorrow. So I want to wish my mom, Noreen Palme, a happy 81st birthday. She has done a lot for me and put up with me as well. So for 54 years, she's put up with me. So happy birthday, Mom. And I'm excited to have the show tonight on with a special guest. I believe we met through Instagram, social media. And my guest is a former Emmy award-winning TV anchor and reporter and content developmenter, and now she is involved as a regional manager of content strategy and development for HCA Healthcare. And I'm excited to have our guest on tonight, Seena Sleem, and we're going to bring her on 1 minute after this applause. Good evening, Seena. How are you?
I am good. Can I also give a special shout out to your mom? Happy birthday, Noreen. That's so exciting.
81 is big, man. 81 is like, yes. So I'm very fortunately. So she's made it to 81. Yes. Yes.
And all the moms out there just have the hardest but most rewarding job. So we always have to shine a light on them when we can. So Noreen, I hope you have a great birthday.
Well, thank you so much, Tina, and it's nice to connect with you on social media, and I'm excited to have you on our show tonight to talk a little bit about your schooling, getting into the media broadcasting side, and then switching over in 2021 to HCA Healthcare and your role with that company as well. How are you doing, and are you in Colorado by any chance?
I am. It's insane because this is the 8th place I've moved to, and I am currently in Denver, Colorado, and I just moved here about a year ago from Charlotte. So I always joke around that I'm going to every time zone.
Now you need to come to Canada on the East Coast one day.
I do. It's been on my list because I lived in Oregon. That's where I had my first reporting job. And I was so close to Vancouver. I'm so sad I never made it. So
Eugene, Oregon, I believe. Eugene, Oregon.
Oregon. Go Ducks.
So, by the way, I haven't been to Western Canada, so that's on my bucket list too. I've actually traveled it more in the States than my own country. So my next bucket list is to travel around more of Western Canada, because Canada, land-wise, is the second largest country in the world land-wise after Russia.
I did not know that. So
Yes.
Already learning all the things with you.
Yes, and our population is about the size of California, so we get about 40 million people here. So we work twice the size of California land-wise, but population, I think California's got more people than our entire country.
I mean, every picture I've seen has been so breathtaking. It doesn't even look real. So definitely trying to make it out. I have a friend in Calgary. So thinking of doing that. Alberta, Canada. I am so jealous that you live there. Definitely on my list.
Absolutely. And if you ever come to Toronto, it's our version of New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago here too.
There we go.
So now I got to ask you this. I've been to 13 states, but I've never been to Colorado. How's your experience been like in Colorado so far?
It's been so great. I got lucky this year because we had a very mild winter. And I always joked around because I wanted to move to Colorado years ago, but I was still reporting at the time and I did not want to do blizzard coverage anymore at that point. So I kept putting it off. So finally, now that I'm out of news, I was like, perfect time. And we had such a mild winter. I feel both ways about it because I would love to have explored more winter sports, but I also hate the cold. So I think it was kind of nice that it's like easing me into it. But I love it. Everything about it. It's just been so fun. The mountains are my happy place, and just driving even on the highway, seeing the mountains has been just so amazing. I think, knock on wood, this might be my forever home. Like, this is what I've been dreaming about because I keep moving around. So we might have a place where I can finally plant some roots.
I had a guest on a couple of months ago from Kirkland, Colorado, a police detective with their police department.
Ooh,
yes.
That's cool. Okay. Look
yes,
at that. I'm sure he's probably said amazing things about Colorado too. I feel like everybody I've met so far loves it.
Yeah. No, it was a lady detective from Kirkland Lake, Colorado. So from what she was telling me, I'd like to get out there one day as well to visit.
I second, and please let me know if you're ever in Denver.
Definitely. Now, seasons, we had a bad winter here in Toronto this year. For the last 20 years, the winters have hit and miss. This year, it was bad. For me, I like winter and fall because my allergies don't act up. Because I find the summers now, I find that summers here in Toronto, in the Toronto area, are getting hot and humid without getting into the political global climbing stuff. The warming, I find the summers are getting too hot and humid, and the allergies, I find the pollen and the hay fever is getting worse too. So for me, I like the fall and the winter time. Other than the ice, I don't like driving on ice. Snow's okay.
I will say that was a big reason I decided to leave the South was the humidity. It just felt like you were walking through a wet blanket. I have naturally curly hair, and so my hair was growing. I was still in news, so the makeup was just running off my face. I remember I used to carry a portable fan with me, and in between live shots, I would just be fanning myself. So it is nice because Colorado has no humidity. So this is a new experience for me.
Wow.
No humidity. Isn't that amazing? Like, my hair, I can actually wear it natural and not have to worry, because I just couldn't do that in the South. It just was not going to work out.
Now, did it take you a while to get used to the altitude up in Colorado?
Yes. So, funny story. When I first decided I was thinking about moving to Colorado and was pretty sure I was going to make that a reality, I decided to fly to Colorado to look for homes, right? And so I went straight. Anybody watching this, acclimate first is what I've learned. I landed in Denver and shot up to Grand Lake. And that altitude, I want to say, is about 8,000 to 10,000 feet. I did not even leave the couch that week. So I was supposed to be looking at places to rent. I didn't even have the ability to. So I actually had to make another trip back because I had such bad sickness from the altitude. It's like I walked a few feet to go to the bathroom and I actually fell and hit my head. I mean, I'm okay now. But it was just so bad that my doctor prescribed me some motion sickness pills for the next time I moved because he wanted me to be safe. And it took me a good 4 months, I would say, just to get used to all of that. So it's just pretty fascinating because you don't realize how much it can affect you.
Now, are those your children in the background? I can hear.
It's my Chihuahua. I actually have a door behind me, so we're gonna there he went outside. I actually have there goes my earring. This is what happens with live TV, live streams, right? So my German Shepherd is on the floor eating a bone right now. I had to keep them occupied. Clearly did not do the greatest job with my Chihuahua, but once you open the can of worms, Chris, got to talk about my dogs a little bit more. So what is so interesting about them, I find this just so amusing, is my Chihuahua is my cute little, I call him my little senior citizen. He's 12 years old. He has the gray hair because he was naturally fully black, and now you can see all the grays. And I have a 2-year-old, 75-pound German Shepherd. So just that dynamic is, I think, the cutest thing and always makes me giggle.
By the way, I've been volunteering for 31 years, and I've been at a couple of local humane societies. So twice a week, I go down to a local humane society, walk dogs, and I also do a lot of fundraising. And they have a dog right now down at a local humane society. His name is Hunter. They call him Dr. Hunter Shepherd, and hopefully he'll be adopted soon as well. If you check out my social media pages, I do post a lot of dogs and cats that are up for adoption as well. I love cats too, but I'm a dog person first, but cats are okay too.
Adopt, don't shop. That's going to be just a really quick plug because I am such a big believer in adopting. There's so many animals who don't have a home. And what's crazy is I actually adopted Layla, my German Shepherd, a month before moving to Denver because they had a lot of overcrowding in Charlotte. And I saw her beautiful face. She wants to make sure everybody knows she's here. So that was her. And then I just went and I fell in love with her and I adopted her. So please, if you're watching, adopt, don't shop. And really, I just give you so much kudos for volunteering because I know if I worked at a shelter, I would end up leaving with all the animals. So it's the only reason I don't do it because that's actually how I ended up with my Chihuahua. I did a story on an adoption event because they were waiving the fee and I ended up getting a Chihuahua. So I couldn't do it. So I commend people who can do that. So such great work.
The only negative, I won't say a negative, but when it's time for them to be put down, I had to do that with a dog 6 years ago. It is brutal because dogs and cats, pets are like family members, and it is devastating when you have to make that final decision at the end too. But you know what? All the love they give you over the years, it's well worth it.
And this is another reason, if you are able to, please go to your local adoption center, see if there's your forever, kiddo, best friend, whatever. I just think when I hear those kinds of stories, it's like just another reason it pulls at my heartstrings of why you need to adopt.
Now, have you thought about maybe taking on a third dog in the future?
Definitely in the future, because I will say anybody who has a Chihuahua or at least knows their reputation, Chihuahuas are feisty and possessive, and that's exactly what I have. And I did not expect, I will say the transition has not been the greatest. I had Layla for about a year now, and my Chihuahua still does not like her. It's more so that he's so I don't want to share mommy. So I think I will get another dog eventually. I will never go without a dog. All I know is having a dog. I had one since I was a child, but I will take a break. Petey, if you're listening, don't worry. because he's already having a tough time sharing me. It's so funny. But I've had him for 10 years, and he's been to, if I'm counting right, 4 or 5 states with me now. So every single time I left for a news job or just for wanting to try a new place, I mean, that has been my man. I mean, he's been the one, no matter what weird shift I have. I had the graveyard shift for a while. I did nights. I've done it all. I do weekends. Like, he has been by my side. So I don't blame him for being a little possessive, like, well, who is this now?
By the way, about a month ago, I did a fundraiser for the local Humane Society. I actually did a 40-yard run on a football field, and I did it under than less than 9 seconds. I've got to get back into shape. I admit I've not been as active as when I was younger, but I actually ran 40 yards in less than 8.5 seconds, and I raised over $300, not a lot, for the local Humane Society. And I'm going to do this event again next year called Run for Paws.
Oh my gosh. And honestly, hey, I think you got to give yourself more credit, because a dollar goes such a long way with a place like that. I can't even run down the block. So, that's impressive that you were able to do that. I just signed up for soccer again. I think you might have saw my story on Instagram, but I used to play for 15 years, took a 10-year break. Now I'm feeling old. But I'm so excited to play soccer again, but I'm going to have to start running. Not looking forward to that, but you got to do what you got to do. And it'll be good for me to get back into it. But I'm so
you're only 23. You're only 23.
You know what?
Age is just a number.
I have been told, so you know what? A little bit of a secret. I'm actually older than y'all might think. I'm not in my 20s. That's all I'll say. But I've been told that I still could pass for someone being in my 20s. So I'm very thankful for that, because let me just say, having a career in TV news, I always wanted to look older. Because you know what I mean? I was always told, you look too young. You look too young. Who's going to take you seriously? But now I'm like, now that I'm not in my 20s, I'm like, I will gladly look young and look like I'm in my 20s. Who wants to look older? What was I thinking? But I've always been told by everybody else, like, you'll be thankful one day that you don't look older. And they were right. So I guess it worked out, but it's interesting to think about how many years. So I was in TV news for almost a decade, and I remember always saying, I wish I looked older. I wish I looked older. Yeah, that went out the window.
When I was younger, I was in such a hurry to grow up. And I wish I could go back in time to change things, but I can't. But I'm 54 now, and you know what? A lot of people don't even think I'm 54 because I really don't smoke. I don't do a lot of drinking. And what I do, I really have a passion for this. And a lot of people don't care about my age. And I feel good. My mind's good. My body, other than needing to lose some weight, I'm pretty good. I know I used to be 5'9", now I'm 5'4", but can't do nothing about that. But
you know what I think, though? It's your energy. You just have such good energy that I think naturally, when someone's so charismatic and they're just so upbeat and optimistic, you feel like they are way younger than they are. You have just such a youthful energy. So I think that that's a big reason why too. But we were bonding over just being on the, I say, fun size. Because I say I'm 5'1" on a good day, but I probably am really actually 5 feet tall. I'll finally admit it. But so I totally get that. But you know what? Like I said, great things come in small packages. Our energy is so big. Who cares about our, physical height, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? Being in media too, I work with people that are in their 20s and went to school for this. I went to school for law and security, but in media, I self-taught myself. But a lot of the guys that I talk to in media, the men and the women, they're legends or whatever, and their stories are a little different than mine. They've been great with me, and I've been able to work with people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, some even in their 70s that still love doing media work. So I've really opened up my mind since I switched over into media, and I just love what I'm doing. My other career I was grateful for 20 almost 24 years, but during the pandemic it became a work divorce, and it was time to leave on both sides. And I started this by doing volunteer work. I did some camera work for a basketball team. They had to train me. I had no idea what I was doing. They actually paid me. They referred me to a local cable company. I did camera work for a couple years, and then that led to my podcast show, and then being on radio for a couple years in Georgia. And if I didn't volunteer and be at the right place at the right time, who knows?
And you know what I really think carries anybody in this type of career through, and I can tell that it's just like the passion. Like I can tell you're very passionate about what you do, and I always say for this kind of industry career, if you are not passionate, you will never get far. Because let's be real, and I love being transparent about this, is that if you're going to go into this type of field, it's not about the money. I mean, starting out in Eugene, Oregon, I made nothing, but it never deterred me from wanting to pursue it because I always lead with passion. And that's what makes you get up out of bed. And on those tough days, you're like, I'm going to show up for my viewers, for myself, for the subject, the person I'm doing the story on, because it's that passion. And it comes through your writing, it comes through when you're talking on screen. And the more you care, the more justice you do to your interview, to the story, whatnot. And so I will say that is one thing I can tell anytime you talk about what you do, you are so passionate, and I love that. I don't think I could do a job purely for money. Now, if that is your prerogative, by all means, because there are people who, and I get it, by all means, but just who I am as a person, I've always led with passion. People always tell me I'm so passionate when I talk in general. I got the hands moving, I got
Same
just
here.
like all of
Same here.
that. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, speak from the heart. And I think we're natural born storytellers. Like I love a good story. I love like theater and whatnot. I've been told I'm animated. But you really have to get in this type of field for the passion. It is what will drive you through your career, even on the tough days. Because I'm sure like even with you, yeah, you do a lot of fun stuff like this. You're getting to talk to people about what they love, who they are, etc. But sometimes there are a little tougher subjects you have to touch. And it's not always easy to be able to separate, business and personal, and be desensitized to a story where you can go home and get it out of your mind and go about your day. It weighs heavy on you. But having that passion is the reason why you keep doing it, right? You know that there is a greater purpose and the reason why you're doing it. And at the core, you love it. Like, I just love journalism. I just love storytelling. And if you don't have that just bare minimum, you can't do this job. You just can't. And you'll never make millions unless you're at a certain level. Good Morning America. Yeah, okay. We know their salaries are like, come on now. But local news is such a different beast. And I will say sometimes I felt overworked and underpaid, but it was the passion that was always the driving force. And so I just want you to know that I can see the passion in your eyes. I can hear it when you talk. And that just gets my heart so warm and excited because I have that passion for journalism. And it's nice that we can bond over that.
By the way, there's been a couple days where I wasn't 100%, but I never thought about canceling on my guests. And then as soon as the camera comes on, my guests come on, my adrenaline kicks in, and it's like therapy to me. To be honest, for what I'm doing, it's like therapy, and I can't sleep after a show because I really love what I'm doing. And by the way, my other career too. At the end, I was kind of, I met at the end of my time there, I was kind of doing it for the money too. And at the end, it was time. And that former career really prepared me for this, because when I worked in a casino and a racetrack, I had to deal with people with mental health issues, substance abuse problems, drug problems. I had to deal with people that were being trespassed. I had to learn how to public speak and listen and show empathy. And when I was younger, Seena, I was shy. I hated public speaking. I would shrink in front of the teacher and kids. I just did not like it. I would play small. And being in security for over 2 decades learned how teach me how to speak in the public, how to listen, and also show empathy and think on my feet too.
And I think that's where passion is also so important, because believe it or not, I was a shy kid too. People don't believe me when I say I am an extroverted introvert. They're like, absolutely not. You're so outgoing. You're so extroverted. And I'm like, I'm really not always on. I know how to turn it on when I need to turn it on, but I'm not really like that. I actually have really I hope my camera's okay. I think my internet.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. And so I actually deal with anxiety, and I love being transparent about it, because people are like, how are you on camera and you have anxiety? And I bring this up because it goes back to what we were talking about with passion. That's what pushes me out of my comfort zone. It is what makes me go, you know what? Hey, you might be nervous. You might feel like you're about to pass out, but I know at the end of the day, is it not so addicting? What you're saying about the adrenaline, how when you're done with the show, you're like, oh, I can't sleep. And it's because you love what you do so much that you can put all the fears and all the anxiety in the backseat for that moment in time. And I will say it definitely helped with my social skills, because you are meeting people from so many different walks of life. I'm born and raised in New York City, and I am so happy that my job has taken me everywhere, because I needed to know how people lived in different parts of the country and how they had different experiences, like what I mentioned, walks of life, background, et cetera, et cetera. And that helped me be more comfortable in front of people, talking to people who I felt were very different from me in my background, but it didn't make me shy. I was like, I can talk to them. I can find a common ground, or I can ask them questions and not have to shy away from it, because I have so much experience talking to people in so many different areas, positions. I mean, I've talked to owners from like a local mom and pop shop to like a senator and a governor, to we got athletes. And so that really helps with your confidence, because and I was joking with you, I could talk to anybody at this point now.
Same here. And I'll be honest, and you do make mistakes too, because one of the guys from TSN, which is like our ESPN, his name is Matthew Shanette. He goes, when you try to be perfect, that's when more mistakes happen. But he goes, mistakes do happen, but the only way you get better as a professional is to learn from your mistakes, and don't be so hard on yourself.
Yes. And I will say, when I first got into news, I had no idea what I was doing. Absolutely no idea. And I think I am really grateful for those mistakes, and having I went to a smaller market, Eugene, Oregon, where I worked for the NBC station there. And in a weird way, I wish I made more mistakes, because that would have meant I took more chances, if you will, and willing to take the leap of faith, and not always flying, but knowing that it made me better and added to my story, if you will, of just who I am and who I was going to become. And so I'm all for making mistakes, and you kind of just have to embrace those like awkward moments like, hello, my earring just fell off. Like, you gotta just go with it because things are not going to be perfect. I tend to have a lot of bad luck. So things like that, I'm not surprised that happened. I'm doing a quick making sure there's no lipstick in my teeth moment. But that's just part of it. You gotta just roll with the punches and learn to laugh at yourself. It's not that serious. And I promise you, what you think is a big mistake in your head, people have probably forgotten about it already. Like, you know what I mean? Everything feels so much bigger. I remember when I used to blank on TV, it would be probably 10 seconds. And I thought it was 2 minutes long. I was like, oh my gosh, everything went out the window. It was dead air for 2 minutes. Watched it back. It was like 10 seconds. And nobody even knew. They thought that I was just taking a pause in my sentence. So I always say, like, it's probably bigger than you think, and just gotta be like, you know what? It is what it is. You know, one of my favorite sayings now.
I have to share a story with you. A couple weeks ago, I had a guest on. We're having a good conversation. Unfortunately, I needed to step out and use the washroom, and I surprised myself. I told my guest I'm going to play one of my pre-recorded interviews with one of my pro athletes interviews. My guest is like, nope. Like, I didn't say washroom. I just said, I just need to step out. We'll do a little interview. I put the interview on with her live, and I went to the washroom, and I came back, and we just continued her show. There's been times where my audio or my technology didn't work. I didn't panic. I've gotten through shows. So also, you know this in TV, in radio, media, sometimes even with Wi-Fi live streaming, things don't always go smoothly, and you just have to work through it. And I think I've been able to do that in my 6.5, 7 years of doing this. Sometimes things happen, and you see it being a camera operator too. Broadcast doesn't always go perfectly, but you still got to do the show.
Hey, when you gotta go, you gotta go too.
Yeah,
you know, it would have been worse if you didn't. You know, I always say those kinds of things in the sense of like perspective, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just about perspective.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know what? I really do think sometimes they make for the best memories. Like, look at you laughing about it now. Is that not just such a funny story to tell people? Like, you won't believe what happened. Of all the moments that could have happened, it was when we were not even pre-recorded, live, because that's when it always happens.
So the interview, I had a 5-minute interview that I did, and my guest loved it, and she came back and was cool about it. And one thing I learned too now, when I do go on air, and I did this when I was a camera guy too, I would drink water, maybe have salad, but I really wouldn't eat anything heavy until after the broadcast. So that's something that I learned that with my show with you tonight, I'm not going to eat something heavy until after our show. So right now, I just had salad and my bottle of water for now. So you learn.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's just kind of, I think that's the thing about mistakes, is like, it really is about perspective. You learn something, you had a good story, and you know what? It just literally, I think sometimes the worst moments in a weird way make for the best moments. You just got to give it some time, you know?
Always have a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. I had a guest last week. He actually, he's been on my show 6 times, but he actually forgot to come on, and I decided to do my show without him. And I basically had the best of CDP show. I rambled on, but I also played some of my best in-person interviews recently that I did, and I turned it into a positive. And then the gentleman, his name's Kevin, he contacted me. He's like, "I'm so sorry, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Kevin, no problems." And we did a show that night too. So I've learned you got to have a plan A, plan B, plan C. So I do a lot of in-person interviews as well. And they come in handy when you need them for your shows too. So I just try to always have a backup plan A, B, C, and D.
And I think sometimes you have to just kind of always in the back of your head go, there's always going to be something that could go wrong, or go into it thinking like, what is the worst possible outcome, so that when it happens, you were prepared for it. Because even now, hey, it's going great. I'm knocking on wood. My table's wood. But I mean, I just switched my internet today. So I can't promise you that it won't just go black out of nowhere and you'll lose me. So that is the worst possible outcome. I'm letting you know so you're prepared.
Yep.
But it's like, you just gotta like expect the worst can happen, the best could happen. Who knows? You know,
Seena,
but I know you can
to,
talk to yourself. So if it does go black, you'll be good.
Yep. And I always have a plan B. By the way, Seena, I want to ask you this. What are your thoughts on AI shrinking the workforce? And do you find storytelling nowadays is shrinking too?
You know, AI is, it's such a gray area because there's so many nuances and we're learning so much about it. I am using it for work right now. And it's great because we have features, like, for example, we have a built-in compliance checker. So it's great. We can run our material in it to see if we're compliant. But at the same time, I feel like it can take away that human storytelling, that human voice. And while those who have a background in that, I mean, I will always pen to paper, not go to AI. But there are people who might not be as skilled in that area going to AI and using it. And it's such a double-edged sword because it's great. I love that they're using it to generate ideas, but it's also bad because it's adding to that competition where I would have excelled in that, but now you can't really tell because it's like you can use AI as a cheat sheet. So it's good and bad. I think that it's great as just kind of like a resource, a tool, an assistant. Where it gets sticky is what you were saying, that it is taking over some jobs. And it also is where I used to excel in certain areas that AI is helping other people in. That is where it gets sticky for someone like me. But I joke around because you know how back in the day, your parents used to be like, back in the day when I would have to go to school and I would have to trek miles and miles in the snow. Now the new thing is I tell the younger generation, when I was in college, I used to have to write papers without AI. So it's good and bad. Great for proofreading. And I just took a class, by the way, a marketing class online through the University of Denver. So I guess I'm truly a Denverite right now. And part of that class was implementing AI in marketing. And so again, I think it's a great tool. I think people should know how to use it, but it's not the end all be all. And I know a lot of times you do have to have that human, I guess, to double check your work. You need that human eye still. So that's kind of comforting, knowing that at the end of the day, you still need humans in some aspects, when it comes to that.
Do you find the storytelling aspect is shrinking, and also the TV and radio industries? Do you find there's going to be more shrinkage going on?
Yeah, I was already worried about the TV, radio, newspaper field shrinking even before AI. And I think AI is just a testament to how fast technology is growing and how the playing field is shifting, the audience is shifting. Everybody wants something now. And that was happening before AI. I mean, people gathered their news and content from a phone. They weren't watching the local news on TV, or they're not tuning into their radio because they have Spotify. So even before AI, that was happening. And now with AI, you're realizing you also don't really need people to write scripts necessarily. And so that does scare me. But I think at the end of the day, you can't take away from real journalism. And at its core, you need people for that, because you need people who want to expose the truth, to push back against authority, who that, those stories where you can tell aren't telling the truth. So technically you can like fact check through AI, but you can't really get to the heart of a story through AI. And I think that's the difference, where you can tell when there is a human behind it through just the tone and the style and whatnot. Because with AI, it's still kind of robotic. You can tell if somebody, 5 people might have the same resume, because you're all submitting it in AI and asking, oh, can you make this the perfect marketing resume? And it's just going to spit out kind of like a formula. And if you hear somebody saying something that you're kind of like, I don't really know about that, AI isn't going to have that, I don't want to say combative nature, but that nature to think fully of, I don't think this is right. Let me dig a little deeper. And then you dig a little deeper. And then you dig a little deeper. AI will only follow up if you ask it to follow up. And I think that's where you're going to need journalists. I would hope that journalism never goes away because of that. We need people who are willing to go against what people are just telling you is the truth, without the fact checking, without the, I don't think so. I've seen with my eyes and ears that this isn't accurate. So again, it's a very gray topic, but I think the need for journalists and real people telling real stories should always be around. And I hope people watching this feel the same way.
Do you find attention spans nowadays, I know mine are shrinking, and it's now important when you do social media work to do shorter clips? Do you find that that's the case with attention spans shrinking?
Absolutely. So I currently do content strategy and development. And one of the rule of thumbs we have, because I do social media management as well, is you never want reels to be more than 30 seconds, at most a minute, because you will attract the audience within the first 5 to 10 seconds. Either they want to stick with your video or they're moving on. And I mean, I naturally do this too. Yeah, it's called doom scrolling, when you just next thing you know, an hour has passed, right? And so it is so hard to grab somebody's attention, and there's so much competition. And so that has been a real struggle with content, because back in the day, there was such an art to long form documentaries, videos, news clips. And now we're like, if you're going to do a news story, cap it at a minute 15. And if you're going to do a reel, 30 seconds. So it is just insane how much the rules are changing, where we used to love those investigative pieces. Now we just want it quick, simple news bites, if you will. So that's definitely a challenge. And with everybody having a phone, the competition is also going up. I mean, anybody could essentially consider themselves a content creator. So that's where, I get a little up in arms about it too, because I'm like, I went to school for this. I've been studying this for years. And now anybody with the phone can essentially just be like, well, I'm a content creator, I'm a journalist. So the competition has also gone up.
Yep. One thing about me, I didn't go to school for broadcast journalism, but I make sure I fact check, I put in the work, I make sure my sources are correct, and I take everything I do seriously, because I'm working extra harder to prove to people that, okay, he didn't go to school for this, but he takes it seriously. And all my opportunities I've reached out to, and I've earned. Nothing has been given to me. I've had a number of setbacks and rejections. And I tell people, if you're going into media, broadcasting, and you've got the college degree or you're doing it self-taught like myself, you have to put yourself out there. And sometimes people tell you no. You don't take no as a failure. You take no as a temporary setback, and you don't give up. You got to have a mindset, and you got to believe in yourself as well.
Agreed. And it's all about, I would say, with this kind of career, it is about experience first and foremost. I will say I learned most of, probably I would say 99% of the things I learned in journalism was from being in the field, experience, etc. And I think that's something that I just urge people, that if you are wanting to do this, you gotta put in the work. It is not just about pressing record on your phone and calling it a day. And I think it's also where you were saying, like, you went out there, you fact check, you weren't taking no for an answer. I think that, going back to our AI conversation, is why I would hope people never get rid of journalists, because AI is going to do what you ask it to do. But we need people like you and me who aren't willing to take no for an answer, who have that integrity, who are willing to take the time to put in the effort to tell a story, to fact check. It's not just like, press record, I just want to get it up and now, forget quality. It's just about quantity, or just getting it out there for my face, for my name, for my brand. And so it definitely is about experience, but also doing the experience the right way, if you will. You know, it's not just about going out and being like, oh, well, I see this and it looks pretty and I'm going to make up a story about it. Like, that's not how it works. You have to always be true to yourself, be authentic, when you're telling a story, be objective, get to the truth, the heart of it, never lose that integrity. And that passion. So important. So important.
Do you see a reduction in people going into the media industry these days?
Yes. There's a reason I left. I think the landscape of media is changing. I believe, and what I can speak to, because I've lived and breathed it, is local news. And it's just really, really unfortunate, because local news for me is, we get a lot of flack because they tie us to a national network, there are a lot of politics and bureaucracy. Whereas your local journalist, I'm telling you, is not making that much money. And they're doing it because they truly believe in journalism and telling the truth and getting the word out there and protecting their community and doing a service for their community. And so I just worry, because everybody wants everything now. I don't think people realize the pressure local journalists are under. So let me just walk you through a normal day of the life of a local news journalist. You are going into the start of your day. So for me, 8 a.m., we are pitching in the meetings, maybe 3 to 5 stories, and you get approved that very moment in your meeting, and you go. You are setting up the interview, you are filming, you are doing everything, usually by yourself. I did not have a camera person, a camera operator, until I was working in Nashville. So in Oregon, in New York, Massachusetts, I was a one-man band. And then, so you're expected to do everything. You write your own scripts, you ask your own questions, and then you're going live that very day. A few hours later, I was live 4, 5, and 6. And so it is a lot of pressure. I mean, I was setting up the live shots by myself, carrying 50 pounds of equipment. And we talked about it earlier. I'm 5 feet tall. And I've also worked weird hours. I was doing the graveyard shift and I was doing nights. So I was going live sometimes 4 a.m., sometimes 11 p.m. by yourself as a young woman. It was pretty scary sometimes. We were doing intense hard news stories. So I was going to shootings, I was going to murders by myself. And we're doing blizzard coverage. Can you imagine doing blizzard coverage all alone? How hard that is. And so you are overworked and underpaid. And a lot of it is because they want everything now, where back in the day, it was more quality focused, I believe, at least, where you weren't expected these quick turnarounds. And so you could put more energy and effort into building your content and quality controlling it. Whereas now it really is about just getting on air. And I think a lot of journalists are getting a little bit turned off by that. And you're severely underpaid. And for the record, a lot of people don't know this. You did your own hair, makeup, you paid for your own clothes.
Wow.
So people who complained about my outfits didn't realize that I was probably making $20,000 without an allowance for any of my makeup, any of my hair products or clothes. They were probably from Goodwill because it was all I could afford at the time. And so I just say that. So first of all, give your local journalists some slack, but also give them grace. But I think it's a lot of the reason why people are leaving the news industry. And there aren't a lot of, and I'm a big mental health advocate. And as I mentioned, I deal with a lot of anxiety. There's not a lot of mental health resources. And my insurance wasn't covering a lot of those mental health resources like therapy, but we're covering really hard news. And I mean, the amount of stories, I was the domestic violence reporter. That was my beat. And so I think there's a lot of reasons people are leaving. And those are just, a few. I could go on and on about my experience. And don't get me wrong, I do not regret being in news. Probably one of my biggest joys and proudest accomplishments was news. So there's always good and bad. But I will say I do think the biggest driver of people leaving the business is being overworked, underpaid, and just the whole now culture, that pressure. It's a lot. It is a lot. People don't realize that we are coming in and expected to go live within maybe, a 5-6 hour window. It's a lot.
I was going to ask you, have you or other people experienced burnout is one of the reasons why they leave the industry? And do you find mental health has shrunk these days?
It's crazy how many people I know have left the business who were die-hard journalists in the sense of like, this is all we wanted out of life. It was our dream. We went into it with what is that saying? Rosy colored glasses. I'm probably getting it wrong. But when you think everything is butterflies and rainbows and you're just so excited.
Rose colored glasses.
Okay, I'm having a little brain fart there. So it's just like, I thought that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. If you told me I would ever leave, I would be like, you're crazy. Like, I would bet you $1 million and now I'd be $1 million in debt. I just never saw it coming. We all go into this dream. Like I said, we go into journalism because of our passion, but we get so burned out because people don't realize just how much it takes to make it in this field, where if you're doing hard news, especially, I mean, that's what I was doing. I was covering court cases, breaking news. I mean, sometimes I would have a 17-hour day because there was breaking news. And if there's breaking news, we do this thing called wall-to-wall coverage. And so you're going live every 5 minutes, and then you're doing it again the next day. You're doing it again the next day. I mean, you don't really get a lunch break. I was eating in my car. That was my office. I'm bringing my laptop. I don't really think I ever saw my newsroom. It was very rare if I did. It was considered a break if I had a day where I got to sit in the office and go live in the studio. And most of my journalist colleagues left during the pandemic. So we were joking around how a lot of people decided to chase their journalism dreams or media dreams once the pandemic hit, because it really made you sit back and reflect on what you wanted as a next step, or like how you wanted to live your life or whatever. I feel like a lot of journalists I know experienced the opposite, where we left the media world and decided to change careers because we wanted something, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but easier. Because it's such a welcome change where I get holidays off now. I have a more balanced quality to work life. I know once 5 p.m. hits, now I'm done for the day and I don't have to think about it. Whereas in news, I wake up checking my phone. I was on vacation, responding to emails. And if there was breaking news and it was a big enough story, I'd have to come back. I would tell my friends that it is the norm if I have to leave during a dinner or miss a wedding, a baby shower. It's just expected in news. And it just comes to a point where your priorities change sometimes. Sometimes people just want a more regulated schedule. And so they were becoming moms and they didn't want to do the morning shift anymore. And that's understandable. And so to each their own, but burnout definitely played a role where you just wanted to have a better work-life balance, where you didn't want to be so drained because you covered a really heavy story for, sometimes it would last a month. I mean, if there's a big enough story like a school shooting, you're covering that for a month. And talking to families of people who just lost a loved one. Oh, some of the worst days of my life were finding out somebody got killed and having to knock on the door of a loved one to ask them to talk to me about it. And for the record, journalists do not love that. I've been cursed out, and rightfully so. I get it. Why are you bothering me when I just had the worst day of my life? And I get it. But trust me when I say it was probably one of the worst days of my life having to do that. I would sit in a car talking to myself for like literally minutes to build up the courage to knock on that door. And so we talk about mental health. And it's so true. It just drains you. You get burnt out from that. And I wish there were more resources for journalists. I remember talking to people about how heavy it was for me and how it got depressing. And some people just said, well, that's just the name of the game. It's like, well, welcome to news. And that's just really disheartening, as if we're not humans. And I just really wish, I would think it would be kind of expected that they would pay for resources like therapy. I mean, when you're covering a topic that anybody would find really hard to cover, you would think that there'd be resources in place to help us get through that, instead of expecting us to be so desensitized where nothing can penetrate that at all. Like it was, I just remember covering a tornado and feeling really bad about what the destruction I saw. And one of the responses from a colleague was, oh, maybe you're just not ready for this. As if I was supposed to not have any compassion or empathy to people going through what they're going through. It's not normal, the things we're covering. So I do think it weighs heavy on a lot of journalists eventually, and they're just really tired and they just want more normalcy. So burnout and mental health, huge topics in the journalism world. So thank you for asking about it, because I do think it's really important to talk about.
Do you find empathy has shrunk too nowadays?
Oh, for sure. I think that's there. Sometimes I joke around, and I love doing those human interest stories, or the stories where you can see the community coming together. A really good animal story, because it just reminds me about the good in life and that humanity still exists. Because it's just like, it's so normal to just go on. You can record anything, right? So it's so normal that if a fight breaks out, for instance, that people start recording it. So you're seeing things in your face constantly. And because, I mean, now we have so many ways of accessing different information that it kind of has made a lot of people desensitized. I mean, talking about fights, some of these violent TikTok challenges that have somehow become humorous to certain people. I remember there was one where, I believe it was a TikTok challenge where you punch a teacher in the face. How that is funny and acceptable, I will never understand why that's even a challenge. And so it is really sad that I feel like empathy has shrunk. And I just hope that people remember that everybody's going through something. And it's just like, one small act of kindness, even complimenting someone, you really don't know if that can change somebody's whole day, or maybe even their life. Maybe that, you don't know if they were going through thoughts, God forbid, suicide ideation, and you just giving them some sort of kindness, small, big, whatever, could really change the trajectory of their week or where their mind was headed. And so I will say it's really bad, but sometimes I literally forget that there is goodness, because I've covered so much bad things that when I see something good happen, I'm like, humanity exists. But I think that's the thing, it's just, I hope people never lose that empathy. That's what love makes the world go around, as corny as that is. But there's a reason that was a song and a saying. But I think a lot of it is because a lot of bad is glorified and given a pass. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And it's really sad to me. It's why I had to leave news. My empathy, like the being desensitized and being just like, oh, nothing can penetrate this wall of mine. And then it's like the empathy started creeping through. And it was actually kind of nice that I started getting that again. And I hope more and more people start letting that empathy through whatever wall they have. Because it could also be a defense mechanism too, that I think sometimes people are a little guarded and put that distance. And there's nothing wrong with empathy, people. I think we could all use a little more of that.
As much as I like social media, and I use it in a good way too, unfortunately there's some negative aspects of it, and I see more bullying and belittling on social media. Do you see that as well?
Absolutely. And I think where the blessing is for me is that it gives me hope when I see so many people commenting against it. So you'll see bullying online, and then you'll see so many people being like, that's not okay, X, Y, and Z. And then on top of that, social media can be so great in the sense that people will see that. And then next thing you know, they're starting a GoFundMe to help the kid or the family. Or there was, I remember, because, I did live in Tennessee, people were mocking this kid for making this makeshift shirt of UT because that was his favorite college. And UT saw it and they actually made a t-shirt with his design on it, and it like sold out instantly. So, and they said they would give him a full scholarship. I just thought that was so sweet. So I guess shout out to the Bulls. But I think it's good and bad where people are seeing more and more of that, and they think it's so cool to record bullying. Let's get the views. But I think where it's great is that there are people who are saying it's not okay, and that conversation is happening. So it's kind of like I've seen this too, where people make fun of homeless people who are clearly going through, you can tell they're dealing with mental illness and they're making fun of them. But then you have the other side where people are talking about mental health and trying to destigmatize that, right? And so I think as bad as it is, I guess that's where I'm seeing the humanity, where people are like, that's not okay, but let's talk about this and why it's not okay and what we can do to help. So I know I'm going on and on. So I do think it's good and bad. But I think where it gets sticky is like, you know how they say they're worried that the more that it shows that people are showing videos that aren't good, that could be encouraging people to post more of that, because they're like, well, they got so many views, so why wouldn't I follow in that footstep? I just would encourage people to have that dialogue of when they see something wrong, why they should stand up and say that that's not okay. You know what I mean? I just hope we never lose people who are willing to say this isn't right and to use their voice in the right way. And I do think that's why a lot of people get into journalism that I know. It's like giving the voice to the voiceless. And you don't have to be a journalist to be doing that. So I just hope everybody's willing to just, if you see something wrong, don't be afraid to stand up for what's right, even if you get pushback or get lashed out on or whatnot. You know, it's what we got to do for each other. I mean, isn't that what community is as well? Just we got to be able to want to stand up for each other when we know what's right and what's wrong.
Build people up and not belittle them.
Yes, I just think it's really sad with social media because people can be so mean. And I was seeing that before social media because it's crazy. When I first got into news, there was like Facebook, but it wasn't as big as it was. I mean, Twitter wasn't really around. Instagram didn't exist. But people would email me bad things. So there was always, if people could say something bad, my dog's passionate about this. But it's like, if people are so like, it was so easy for them to find me and say something bad. I can only imagine how easy it is now. If somebody doesn't like something, you know, you can post that Google review, go on Yelp. There's just so many ways to complain and be mean to someone. So I just go, like, these people that you're being mean to on a screen and you're being that keyboard warrior, like, they're real people with real feelings. Be nice. Because even though I might not, I have pretty thick skin and most of the comments don't bother me, but there are days that I would stay home crying and starting to doubt myself, wondering if I was meant to do this career. And like, it affects people more than you know. So just like be nice. And you never know what somebody's insecurity is and what their triggers are. And why would you ever want to poke at that? So it's just like, if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say it. Like, it really is true. Keep it to yourself. You know, you could affect someone more than you know.
Seena, have you thought about doing your own podcast in the future and maybe writing a book about your media career
You
at
know
some
what's
point?
funny? I thought of doing a podcast a couple of times, but there's just so many podcasts out there that for me, that was my biggest thing. Is there's so much competition, and you really have to be, I mean, because look at you doing your talk show. It is a lot of work.
It is.
And so you really got to be dedicated to it for it to be successful. And even if you're doing it just for fun, it's still a lot of work. I don't think people realize how much work it is that goes on behind the scenes. So
The on-air
everybody
stuff is
watching-
easy.
I was gonna say, everybody watching, like, know that Chris is not just a talking head. I know you're doing a lot. You're wearing all the hats. And so that is one reason I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do a podcast. Would people find me interesting enough? But I do go back and forth about it. But so who knows? A book, I don't think I'm that interesting. So probably not. But I do think that it would be kind of nice, though, maybe in a few years, to do like a mini series. I don't think it'd be on like TV, but just maybe like on Instagram, maybe like a video podcast just about my experience and like the funny stories I have, because I do have all the stories, and I think a lot of people find what we do very fascinating because it's unique. I mean, come on, how many people are you meeting that is, jokingly, I'm being a little facetious, a little truth, crazy enough to go after this wild career, but it has taken me to I feel like I lived 100 lives. So maybe I'll do a little series, just like, why not go down memory road and share some of my experiences. So, we'll see. I always say, I'm never say no, but never say never, but not a full-on yes.
By the way, I have 3 talk shows in total. This is my main baby, live with CDP. I have one that's devoted to a football show where I work with a co-host who's half my age. And then I have one that's called the Small Talk Podcast. Once a month, I have a co-host in Los Angeles. Her name's Marlene Sharp. We interview people from the entertainment industry. But if there's a time where Marlene's not able to come on, I would love to have you as my guest co-host on the Small Talk Podcast. I
would love that. And it's such an honor that you asked me, because I know you talk to so many people. And so I'm honored that you're wanting me. So love that. Thank you.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. If there was going to be a movie made about you, which actress would you want to play Seena Sleem? What actress?
Ooh, that is such a good one. You are putting me on the spot. Can I say, who first popped into my head? Personality-wise only, if I were to get somebody to play me, I definitely think, and I don't know if you gathered this from following me on social media, but I'm kind of quirky. So it'd probably be somebody like, I need somebody kind of silly and quirky, but could also be serious. And Anna Kendrick, for some reason, popped into my head. Personality-wise, I just see that for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, she can play that awkward actress, but I've also seen her in more like dramas. So she is versatile. I like to think I'm like, a little bit of everything.
Now, I saw one of your social media pictures the other day. I really liked it. It was with you with a Chucky doll in your hand.
Yes.
Yes. Where was that, from a Halloween event?
Yeah, so fun fact, Halloween is my favorite holiday. Yes, I'm sorry for all the Christmas lovers out there, the people who love Thanksgiving because they love all the food. I love Halloween. And any excuse to play dress up, I am there. So a lot of people think that I wear makeup and do, I dress up, because I'm just like, oh my God, I am like I think I'm a princess, prima donna. I'm high maintenance. For the record, I just think life is like a fashion show, like a runway. I love dressing up. I think I'm in my own movie in my head. And so, of course, why wouldn't Halloween be my favorite? So I went with Bride of Chucky this year. My favorite genre of movies are horror movies. So people watching, if you have any recommendations, please let me know. I want to be so scared I cannot sleep. I know most people would be like, why would you want that? Why would you torture yourself? I don't know, but I love scary movies. So it's funny. I think this year, now that I have 2 dogs, I have to come up with a collaborative costume. Me and Petey, my Chihuahua, we were Baby Shark and Mommy Shark one year. So if you have any horror movie suggestions, those watching, any costume ideas, let me know. I'm already counting down to Halloween. And once October hits, haunted houses, the haunted maze, the court. You'll get me talking nonstop. I love Halloween. And every day, why am I embarrassing myself? I wear fake freckles now. I just love dressing up. I don't think people realize I have the blonde wig. Like, no one's believing I'm blonde. But do I care? Absolutely not. I want to wear a blonde wig. I just love dressing up. Do you dress up? Do you have a favorite costume that comes to mind that you've ever worn your whole life, or you're just not really into it?
Back in the 70s and 80s, when I did go trick-or-treating, I would wear Star Wars costumes and Spider-Man costumes. There was even some years in Halloweens where it was snowing when we were trick-or-treating. My favorite thing about trick-or-treating was getting the candy, the chocolate bars, and all the good stuff.
Oh my God. I lived in, I'm going to give Bayside, New York, a shout out. It was, people were like, how was it growing up in New York? But I lived in a nice little suburban area, so you could trick or treat. And I just remembered, and there was a time, I feel like nobody trick or treats anymore. But this was when everybody was doing it. You were the weirdo if you didn't trick or treat. It just was a thing where everybody in my neighborhood did it. We would have block parties. Oh, I miss those days. I don't really see people doing block parties. It was just very community oriented. And oh my God, I loved it. I would get 3 bags of candy. It was just, I was living my best life. And I am not an only child, but I'm not the best sharer. I will admit it. One of my flaws, I'm not really good at sharing. But I would hide it under my bed. And I just was not sharing my candy. I was such a Halloween snob, I sound like. But I wore 3 different costumes. I would get the bags of candy. It was the best. Some of my best memories.
Favorite chocolate bar. Favorite chocolate bars.
I love a Twix. I love a Twix. And you know what? I have such a sweet tooth. My new thing is, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. I think it's called True Fruit. It's the frozen fruits covered in chocolate. If you've been following my journey, I'm an insomniac. It's just, I've always been. And so I've been waking up. I did this yesterday, 3 a.m., eating. I'm half asleep. I'm waking up with the bag next to me and my hands are covered in chocolate. It is so bad, my chocolate addiction. I know the people who are how are you eating after a certain time? I know. And it's not hygienic. I'm sleeping with a bag of chocolate in my hand. It's a problem. And I full on own it. But it's my sweet tooth at night. It just creeps up on me. But I do love a Twix. I could eat, This is why I do not keep any snacks in my house, because I will eat it all. Like, it is so bad. Do you remember? I'm going to say it wrong probably again. I'm so bad with brand names. Is it Nutty Buddy?
Yes.
But it's like the wafers, the chocolate wafers.
Yeah.
I bought a box thinking I could have self-control. It was gone in 2 days. Then and there, I was like, we absolutely cannot have. We can't do it. We're keeping, but the chocolate fruits are the only sweets I have. And my justification is it's technically fruits, right? So at least I'm balancing it out. Please don't contradict it. I don't want to know if I'm wrong. We're not saying anything, but that is my loophole to having chocolate in my house.
By the way, a fun fact about me is I love Reese's peanut butter cups. So that's my favorite. But I haven't had chocolate since October 2017. I've gone almost 9 years without chocolate.
Okay, well, you shouldn't tell me that, because now that Halloween's my favorite. I mean, like a perfect gift to send you is just a box of Reese's. I call it Reese's Pieces.
That's my weakness. It's my weakness.
You shouldn't have told me this, because I mean, the perfect excuse is Halloween.
By the way, do you find chocolate bars have been part of shrinkflation?
What do you mean?
Well, they shrink the size of the chocolate bar and they charge more price.
Well, I think that's just everything now, because I mean, milk. Can we talk about it? I just started eating cereal again. I know. It's just that I have like the weirdest like things that just pop in my mind where I'm like, you know what?
Same here.
I think I'm gonna start cereal again. Like, what? So I had to buy milk. And it was so expensive. I just had been a while since I bought milk. And my ratio is I need like double milk. So I'm going through like gallons of milk. So, you know, boom, boom. It is very expensive. So I think that's just inflation in general. But I couldn't tell you about specifically chocolate because I'm buying bags at a time. And I'm not even looking at the price of my True Fruits because I don't want to know. I cannot have an excuse to stop. Like, that might be the one thing other than all the dog treats I buy that I'm like, if I don't see it, I see no evil, I hear no evil. It's just my pass. I bought, I have Amazon Prime. Very bad.
So do I.
Is it not so bad? I don't leave my house.
It's so easy, convenient, but I still like to go to stores to try out clothes. I use Amazon Prime, but for clothes, I like to go into a store and actually try things on.
It's hard with sizing too, because every brand is different. And, you know, I used to take advantage, or I would think I'm taking advantage of the 30-day policy. I'm like, oh, I have time. I'll take it and then I can return it. No, it never ended up returned because I don't want to go to UPS or Whole Foods to return it. And so, you know, with food and dog treats, I mean, you're not going to return it. And so that's kind of been my new thing where I've just been ordering just boxes and boxes of chocolate and dog food. And so I really hope that it's not shrinking and being more expensive, because that actually might explain my credit card bill. I'm just choosing to look the other way. So I really hope that's not the case.
By the way, if I keep getting shorter, we can do a ventriloquist act. Seena and Chris.
I know. And you know what's funny? I think, do you get that a lot? The number one thing I get when people meet me is, you're a lot shorter than I thought you'd be. Thanks. I like those comments. I'm like, those are one of the comments you can keep to yourself. Like, it's just so unnecessary because Well, first of all, how can you like guess someone's height from like a TV or a computer screen? Like right now, I would never know if you're tall, short, in the middle. Like, how could you tell, you know? So it's funny if somebody were to meet you, like, I don't know if you get that, but I get
Yes.
it. Oh, you're so much shorter than I thought. And they do the emphasis so much shorter. I'm like, did we need to put the emphasis on that?
Do you ever wear high heel shoes?
You know what? Like I said, life, I'm in my own movie. Life is a runway. I will say 95% of the time I am in heels. And a lot of it's just because I just genuinely love fashion. I will always be overdressed. So it's such a girl thing to text before you go somewhere. What are you wearing? And I always tell my girlfriends, I'm the worst person to ask because we could be going to a brewery and I'm wearing heels. And not because I'm like, ooh, like I have to be dressy and high maintenance. It's because I just like it. Like, you know? But it's funny because I will say it does come in handy too. Because one of my pet peeves, I hate being stepped on. Like, especially if you're like at a bar and, you know, people are trying to get the bartender's attention. And if I get stepped on, I get so angry because I'm like, I'm here. I exist. I take up space. So I guess I get lucky that I can wear high heels because I can't imagine you are doing that. So that's
No.
the fun thing. You know what I mean? It's like at least I can say that. So, you know, some days I can be like 5'5" if you're catching me on, you know, but I'm sure like, you know, obviously you can't say that, but that I will say, I just my pet peeve. Like, but you know what we can get away with at a concert sounds so bad, but sometimes I will use that card. I will be like, poke, poke, poke. I'm so sorry. I'm so tiny. Can I stand in front of you? I can't see. And usually they feel bad because they're like, well, we're at a concert. She has to see. She paid money and I can see over her anyways. So if you know, you might want to use that card. I definitely use it.
Did you see that series on NBC Peacocks called the Miniature Wife series? It was 10 episodes.
I have not, but I love the actress in it. I believe her name's Elizabeth Banks.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, she's so good. Did you like it?
Yeah. It was funny.
Okay.
It was a comedy.
I
It
know
was
what you're talking about, but I didn't
yeah.
know how it'd be.
It was basically kind of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes.
This case, it was a wife.
Classic, can I just say? I was obsessed with that movie growing up. So classic.
Rick Moranis, who was in that movie, he is Canadian too, by the way.
Is he? You know what I bet you get a lot? That you're just so over Justin Bieber being Canadian.
He lives not far from me. He lives in Stratford, Ontario, which is about 40 minutes from me. It's you. If you ever come to Ontario, Stratford, Ontario is a place you gotta come. They have a lot of good theaters there, and it's a nice little town. And he still comes back to Stratford in this area. He hasn't forgotten his roots. He's never forgot where he came from.
Well, that's a fun little name drop too, to be like, hey, because I mean, so many people believers, you know. But it's funny because, you know, my friend, her boyfriend's Canadian too. And the first thing I'm sure they get all the time, because I even did this, was like, Canadians are so nice. I just personally, you know, that's a stereotype, but I have never met a Canadian who wasn't nice. So it's like, well, maybe that's why the stereotype is there. And it's not, I mean, that's a great stereotype, you know? But it's funny because the second thing a lot of people think of that I know that are ladies were like, Justin Bieber is also Canadian. So I was just curious if like you ever get, you know, one or the other, but you are really, see, you're just adding to the stereotype. You're so friendly. And what you said earlier was that we met through social media, through Instagram. And like, you cannot be friends with somebody through social media unless you're friendly. You know what I mean? Because we always kept in contact, and that wouldn't happen unless you're both social and you're both nice and approachable. And so you're just proving the stereotype right, which I think, I mean, you're giving Canadians a great name.
By the way, we don't live in igloos, because I sometimes still hear that from people, not in
gosh.
Colorado, but some of them. And I'm like, no, we have 4 seasons like New York,
Yeah.
Chicago, and Boston, and that too. And there's something else I was gonna. I forgot. See what's happening. My memory's kind of going too now.
Well, also,
54.
I don't stop talking. So you're probably
Yeah.
ready for it. And you're like, oh, this girl
Yeah.
is a talker. I told you didn't have to worry about me, though.
No.
Because you mentioned guests. You're like, and I get it, because you don't want to ever pull teeth. But I was like, we're just going to gab. We're just going to have a conversation.
Yeah, we'll make this into a 2-parter. But by the way, now I remember what I was going to ask you. What were your first impressions of me when we started first talking?
You know what? And I apologize in the sense of that I don't think I responded right away, because Instagram, what are you doing? You know how they have 2 folders? So
Yes.
I don't ever check my requests. And I didn't see it for the longest time. So now that we're face to face, I can formally apologize for that. And then when we finally did, I looked at your profile, of course, because who isn't going to be like, ooh, who is this person? And I just have a soft spot for somebody who does what I do, like in the same world. And so I was like, of course I want to befriend this human. Who doesn't want to support another journalist? And then I was just like, this guy, you know what I love about you? You are so complimentary. And it's not because I need you to inflate my ego. It's just, I can tell you're just genuinely a nice human. And so I really appreciate that, because you never know, right? And we were talking about this day and age, there's so many keyboard warriors. So seeing the message, it could have gone good or bad. I was like, oh gosh, is he going to complain about me, or is he going to be nice? And you were so supportive. That was my first thought. I was like, so thank you so much for supporting my career and what I do all this time. And I was like, he's so kind. And this is what we need. We need people to be uplifting, because it's like, I just think that, like, look at us. I think we've been social media friends for quite some time. And look where we are now. Like, how awesome is this?
It feels like I've known you for years. It feels like I've known you for years.
That's what's so crazy. And like, now we have the opportunity to like do this face to face, have a real dialogue. Like, you know, this would have never happened if you didn't keep the door open and continue to be supportive of me. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for coming on. And it's the guests that make a great show. My job as a host is to make my guests feel comfortable and share their stories. And the focus is always on them. And natural conversation makes for better than scripted stuff. So I've taken a lot of lessons from my other career, but also from guests when I first came on, and I've applied it, and I'm still a work in progress and trying to continue to get better as well.
Well, I would not think anything of like you saying you needing to get better. You are such a natural. Like, can I just say Thank you. The job look easy. You're so easy to talk to. So that I can tell that, like I mentioned multiple times, because it's so true. You are so passionate, and I hope you never lose that.
I do have a big head, literally.
Well, oh my God. It's full of knowledge, okay?
I have to put my head in the dryer.
Oh my God, I love that.
That's what happened to me, being in the dryer too long. I try to be funny.
Goodness. Well, you know what? You've made me laugh a lot. So, hopefully I did the same, and it's not pity laugh.
Yeah. Seena, do you got a couple more minutes? Because I'd like to play a little video clip from your website of your demo reel. I just want to air the demo reel and just your thoughts on it, and then just brief thoughts on your role with your new company as well. if that's
Sounds
okay.
good. Yes.
And we'll definitely have you back on again in the future too. You have an
I would
open
love
invite. Okay, where can people find your website and yourself on social media before you play the video?
Yeah, so the perk of having a unique name is everything is Seena Sleem, and that's spelled SEENA SLEEM. And I always say Seena like John Cena, so you'll never get confused with how to pronounce it.
1 second, we're going to play this clip right now. I'm the audio guy too, so please let me know if you can hear the audio. If you can't, we'll fire the audio guy, which is me. 1 second, we're going to play this right now. SeenaSleem.com, everybody. Make sure you put it on your bookmarks, and we'll play this clip right now.
Students of Hopkinsville High School are outraged after photos like these on social media are circulating, showing ceilings leaking and damaged walls. The paint may be gone today, but last night the monument looked like this. It had pink spray paint on it, and it said the words coward, murderer, and Fort Pillow. Safe Clinic is the first clinic that's dedicated to sexual assault forensic exams in Middle Tennessee, and it's open 24/7.
Come on through.
The first step is getting through the gate.
Our News Channel 5's Seena Sleem is joining us now with some startling and alarming numbers. Hey, Seena.
Hey, Matthew. Yeah, according to this study by Value Penguin, Tennessee actually ranks as the #1 state for the worst distracted driving. Now, we spoke to AAA, who also did their own study, and they noticed distracted driving is also on the rise. So this right now is also distracted driving, me messing with the radio. It's not only limited to cell phone use, it's anything that takes your attention away from the road. In Nashville, Seena Sleem, News Channel 5. This Safe Clinic is the second clinic in Middle Tennessee that's solely dedicated to sexual assault forensic exams. It has touches like this blanket and these vibrant paintings to make survivors feel safe and comfortable. Floodwaters destroyed the rinks here at Veterans Park, but luckily the community was able to come together to salvage one of the rinks so that they could go ahead with their spring season. Teachers in Tennessee are not allowed to go on strike, so instead they're doing this demonstration and they're holding signs such as Fund Our Future and Hope for Fair Pay.
1 in 4 women will be sexually abused in their lifetime. And sadly, that statistic is even higher for women who find themselves behind bars. But as News Channel 5's Seena Sleem learned, a new program is helping survivors rise above their past. It's a story you'll see only on 5.
Domestic and sexual abuse haunts the women behind these walls at the Metro Davidson County Detention Facility.
Sometimes I still have nightmares from being abused.
Katie Gardner saw it in her childhood.
I think it's a cycle. I grew up with it, so it was normal to me.
Others have seen abuse from past romantic relationships.
He's a master manipulator.
And some say it's the reason they're behind bars.
Came back inside the room from smoking a cigarette, and she pushed me, and I retaliated, and we just began to fight.
About 80% of female inmates will or have experienced domestic violence. That's why having the RISE program in this facility is so important.
The RISE program is a 6-week course that educates female inmates about sexual and domestic abuse. It lets them know about resources, warning signs, and characteristics of a healthy relationship.
And we've also learned
But most of all, it allows these women to rise above their past.
I could talk about it now more than I've ever been able to talk about the situation.
The program started 1.5 years ago after there was a clear need for the class.
The women that have came through my class, over 90% of them have experienced kind of relational violence.
Inmates are especially vulnerable because abusers try to take advantage of their situation.
A lot of us are leaving on probation. And who wants to get the police involved when you're already on probation?
But these inmates say the class has empowered them.
Don't be afraid to speak up. It's hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I'm glad that I did it.
And just like a phoenix, they now have the courage to rise from the ashes. Seena Sleem, News Channel 5.
Thoughts on this reel that you did here?
You know, okay. It feels like a lifetime ago, and it just gets me so nostalgic there's two things that I'm thinking of. One, I've met just some incredible people. You know, I mean, as the last story that is on that reel, where I'm speaking to the inmates who have gone through sexual assault and domestic abuse, for them to be so courageous to talk to me about their story, I am so honored that they trusted me with that. And so, oh goodness, it just really my heart, you know? Um, and then the second part that I'm thinking of is with everything bad comes good, or at least you would hope, right? And so a lot of those, well, all those stories on my reel were not happy stories. But I just think of all the good that came out of it. So, for example, the ice rink that got destroyed, a brand new ice rink was built because the community came together and made this push to have this new rink because they wanted the kids in the neighborhood to not miss out on all of those hockey memories and experiences and joy that they were having from that. And also just being able to communicate resources, for example, like that sexual abuse center that maybe people didn't know existed. So just getting the word out. So, oh gosh, those memories are so like makes my heart just explode. And it makes me miss reporting. But those people I met, they really are the reason why I did it. And I've said this, but I will say it one more time. I am so honored that they trusted me enough with something so vulnerable and something that might have been the toughest thing they ever experienced. So honored they trusted me to tell their story.
How would you describe yourself quickly as a reporter and your interviewing style?
I've been told I'm very personable and approachable. So you tell me, I've been told I make people feel comfortable. And I think the reason why is because I talk to you like you're my friend. You know?
What's one word to describe yourself as an anchor?
Ooh, that is a good one. I think genuine. I think because I believe what I say. And I do truly don't look at it like I'm talking to a TV, or I don't do it to be famous. I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it because I believe in what I do and I believe in what I'm saying.
Seena, as we wrap up the show in a couple of minutes, can you just tell our audience a little bit about your latest career as the regional manager of content strategy development for HCA Healthcare, and how did this all come about?
Yeah, so I was looking for a transition out of news into a career where I felt like I could apply the skills that I had in journalism into the new career. And so I knew I wanted to do something within marketing and journalism. Marketing and communications. And I didn't want to give up telling stories. And so HCA Healthcare, its corporate headquarters, so I work for the corporate office, is in Nashville. And it just worked out really organically. It was a content job. That's what I do. I write, I do social media, all of that. I strategize. And not to toot my own horn, but it worked out because it was in the Nashville market and that's where I was working. The person who interviewed me knew who I was. So I'm sure that gave me a leg up. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now is I oversee all of Florida now. And so pretty much just content strategy development. So I am in charge of coming up with campaigns, social media, emails, newsletters, anything that has to do with content, writing, web pages. That's me.
as we wrap up the show, I'm going to put myself on the spot. This is a new segment that I created as we wrap up our show. It's called Ask the Host CDP a Question. And CDP are my initials, by the way.
What? Wait, this isn't going to be my question, but what is your middle name?
David. David.
Oh, okay.
So now you know.
For those
So don't
who
tell.
didn't know.
It's their secret.
Okay, well, now I know. So what was the appeal for you into, because you did something that's pretty different. So what was the appeal for you? Did you always know this was kind of an itch you wanted to scratch going into the media world?
Yes, I was interested in broadcasting back in the 90s, but they didn't have today's technology. And I just decided, okay, I did well in law and security in high school. I'll take it in college and stuff like that. But I always liked it, but they just didn't have this technology back then. And I guess doing some volunteer work as a camera operator really sparked this passion, and having this technology today with the live streaming, the podcasting, the social media platforms, I learned how to cut promos for myself and my guests on TikTok. I know you always hear the negative things about TikTok, but I learned to go on there and do it. And 5 years ago, one of my friends who was doing live streaming before me told me, hey, Chris, you got to open your settings to public, and also you got to get on TikTok. And I listened to him, and now 6 years later, I've built a following on there, and I've learned how to do a lot of media stuff through that app.
Do you mind if I ask you one more question? Because,
yes,
as a journalist, I have 100 questions that go through my head.
Yes.
If you could give viewers who are thinking of doing that career change, especially later in life, hope you don't mind me saying that, what advice would you give them? Because it's not easy to jump careers, and I'm sure it's a little scary.
It is. For me, I was ready. I was actually planning this a couple years before my work divorce on both sides. And what I would give people is figure out what you want to do, figure out your talents. And for many years, I just stayed at another job because, okay, it's an 8 to 4 job. I got paid, benefits, and all that stuff. But I at the end, I wasn't growing. And I would say figure out what you like to do. And volunteering has been a big part of my life. And volunteering with a local basketball team led me to doing camera work, to doing this. Find your passion, figure out what you like. But also, when you do switch careers, mindset. You have to believe in what you're doing. I'm also a small business, so I've had people support me, but I've heard skeptics, naysayers, and even haters. You have to believe in yourself, and you got to block out the noise, and that includes even from family and people you know. You just have to have a strong belief in yourself, strong willpower, and a determination as well. And I just think age is just a number, and don't judge people based on their age. Judge them based on the body of their work, their personality, and their character. And also be a good person too. Kindness goes a long ways. I've had a lot of celebrities on my show, like Jason Hervey from the Wonder Years. I've interviewed him. He actually approached me at the Niagara Falls Comic Con to do an interview with him, and he's like a legend. He was on Back to the Future movie, Wonder Years as Wayne Arnold, Vicki Lawrence, Lou Ferrigno, people I never thought I would get a chance to speak to. I've been able to, and I treat everyone the same. I don't care if you're a dishwasher or you're the CEO of a company or a celebrity. I have that ability to talk to people. And I think in a ways we might be in different countries and our stories might be a little different, but we're very similar in that way, in my opinion.
I know I don't want to keep rambling, but I think an idea for us is we should do a little flip, and we should do a segment, get to know Chris, and I should do the interview.
I would,
because I have so many questions, but I obviously don't want to keep going because I know we're trying to wrap up. But I want to throw that idea out there. Would love to interview you.
Absolutely. Well, so let's set it up. And by the way, we're now number 3 for my longest podcast. My longest one was with
Linda. Thank you.
Linda Wong, an actress in LA, 2 hours and 2 minutes. We had such a great time. And then I had a friend named Patrick Pierce, who's in PR in Kansas City. He came on for an hour and 55 minutes. When you're having a great conversation, time flies by. And that's my job, to make the guests comfortable, but also make sure it's a good conversation and not scripted. And I just focus on doing the best I can. I don't worry about what other podcasts do. But yes, I would love to have a show where you're interviewing me. That would be great.
Good. I'm gonna hold you to it because I have so many questions, and I'm sure people want to know their host better.
Well, definitely. We'll definitely set this up. And finally, Seena, where can our audience again follow you on social media, your website, and for those people that are in Colorado, the best way of contacting you at HCA Healthcare?
So I am very active on social media. So send me a message on any of my platforms. The handle, all of it is Seena Sleem. So you can't forget it. It's my first and last name. And my email, if you do want to email me, seenasleem@gmail.com.
By the way, when I get more of these made up, I'll have to send you one. Chris Pame mug.
Yes. And I'm sending you chocolate, Reese's Pieces for Halloween. Yes, I said Reese's Pieces.
if I had to give up my boycott of chocolate, I'd give it up for you.
Thank you. You know what? When we do the get to know your host, we're going to cheers with one.
Okay. Deal. And by the way, I'll have to make a doll for me too. A little Christmas.
Yes. You got it.
But be nice to me.
No promises.
All right. Hey, Seena, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here tonight. And I definitely would love to have you back on again on this show for a part 2, or as a guest host on the Small Talk podcast. But let's set up a show where you're the host and I'll be the guest.
I would love that. You didn't scare me away, so you did
That's
great.
good. That's good. And I didn't make you cry. My job is to make you smile and laugh. And that's a good thing too, by the way. And for me, this is a form of therapy. Honestly, I feel so much better after each show, just connecting with my guests and having good shows. And I'm very fortunate, very lucky, and I love what I'm doing. And by the way, I'll be in Toronto again Saturday at a Canadian National Exhibition. So they have all kinds of different weird foods and stuff like that. So I'll be creating content there, and I'll be doing a football game. As you can see, I do a lot of content creating too.
I mean, you had me at weird food. Y'all better go.
Oh yeah, the CNE is something. If you ever come to Toronto, it's the end of summer fair in Toronto. It's a 2.5-week event. It's like a 140-year event, and it's like agricultural, food, rides, culture stuff. It's something you would love. Check out the CNE.ca. Canadian. I'll send you the website. Check it out, and they have music bands there. They have weird types of food. So if you're into that, you need to come to Toronto. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, now I know I'm putting on my calendar for next year because that is up my alley.
It's usually the third week in August, and it goes until Labor Day. And it's a really great tradition here. So I'm looking forward to it. But I always take the train. By the way, when you take the train into a major city, you can get a lot of good content there. There's so many walks of different types of people there. And I'm always observant too. Observational skills.
Yes. Well, I'll have a local hostess. If I go, you can show me around. And I'll try and go during that time for the weird food. I mean, weird food. I am so sold with that.
I will make sure I get some of that content this weekend, and I will tag you in. Yes. And now I have a craving from chocolate. I haven't had chocolate in 9 years. Now I have Reese's peanut butter. You know how you can bribe me? Reese's peanut butter cups.
Well, I love that you said you hadn't had it in a long time. So now a challenge accepted. Let's go.
Definitely. But hey, Seena, just give me a little bit of time tonight. And I will send you the full video. Would you like the full video? Because I can send it to you by WeTransfer.
I would love that.
Okay. WeTransfer really shrinks the video down into email. So all you have to do is download the click, and I will send you the audio, and I will edit some reels and clips as well. So after our show, I'm just going to take like a 20-minute break to move my legs and walk, and then I will start downloading the video and the audio. And I want to say thank you so much for being an awesome guest. I think we covered a lot tonight, and there's more to cover the next time. But definitely, if you want to do a show with me and you're the host and I'm the guest, I'd love to do that with you. 50 questions with CDP.
I'm gonna message you on Instagram.
Absolutely. And I'm on TikTok too, by the way, at Chris Pame. You can follow me there on TikTok.
Yes, I will. And good luck editing, because it's a very long episode.
I learned how to edit video a couple years ago during Christmas, and now I love editing video. But I admit, sometimes I use AI to help me with editing video when I'm extremely busy. So AI is a good tool if you use it the right way. But hey, Seena, thank you so much for coming on. And now we're the number 2 longest show in my 751 episodes.
I take
number
pride
2.
in that.
Tell you what, then tell you what, when we do the show with you as the host, we'll make it 2 hours even.
Oh, don't worry. I have all the questions.
Well, you're an amazing person, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this tonight, and continued success in your new career with HCA Healthcare. And we'll have to talk a little more about that the next time you come on as well.
Yes, thank you for having me. Have a good night.
You too, Seena. Thank you so much. Good night. All right, everyone, that concludes season 14, episode 36, overall 751 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest tonight, Seena Sleem. Seena Sleem, who is a regional manager of content strategy development for HCA Healthcare out of Nashville, Tennessee. So thank you so much to Seena Sleem for coming on here tonight. As we wrap up the show, guys, the next Argo Bounce podcast show with Chris Pame, Nick Small, episode 10. Will take place on Thursday, August 20th, 8 p.m. Eastern. This is kind of a little bit of a vacation break for me this week, as I'm only doing one Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, which was tonight, and I'm going to do the weekly Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small Thursday night at 8 o'clock. So Thursday, August 20th, 8 p.m., Nick and I will talk about the Edmonton Elks 42-12 win over the Argos, and we will preview the Argos Hamilton Tiger Cat game this Saturday at 7 o'clock, the CNE game at BMO Field in Toronto as well. So again, thank you to Seena Sleem for coming on from HCA Healthcare, and a former Emmy award-winning TV anchor and reporter for coming on here today. And I want to say thank you to everyone for watching the show on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, Instagram, and thank you everyone for listening to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and wherever podcasts are available. I hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll see you back here Thursday, August 20th, 8 p.m. for the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself. And again, I want to wish my mom, Noreen, a happy 81st birthday for tomorrow, Wednesday, August 19th as well. And thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet for being part of this show. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you back here Thursday night at 8 p.m. for the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and yours truly, Chris Pame. Good night, everybody.